Hey everybody, Vince Ingenito here. This is my review discussion for Dead or Alive 5 Last Round. I am joined by the one, the only, Ben Janka. How are you, buddy?
That's quite a build-up. I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
You deserve a build-up. You're an important man.
Aw, thank you.
So we're playing some Dead or Alive 5 Last Round, and we're just kind of going through the nuts and bolts of my review, and we're going to talk a little bit about what I thought of the game.
Because you reviewed the original version of Dead or Alive 5 when it came out.
I did. I reviewed the original version of Dead or Alive 5 a couple of years ago for IGN as a freelancer back then. One of my big for me at the time, it felt big. I was excited.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely a pretty big thing. But, you basically going from that one to this one, you felt that the fighting, it's still the same great fighting that you come to expect.
Absolutely. It's still in my opinion an excellent fighting game. It's just what makes fighting games great, what I play fighting games for more than anything, is for that sense of getting in my opponent's head and reading what they're about to do and stopping it. And as I've said before in other reviews, in other videos rather, sometimes I feel that that's obscured in a lot of fighting games, or it's hidden behind several levels of learning. Like the person on offense kind of always has an easy time of producing the offense they want to produce and kind of doing tough block strings to deal with. But then the person on defense kind of has to do a little bit of learning to really understand what to do about it. Like I can't tell you how many times I've played a fighting game and turned to someone and been like, so what do I do about that? And they're like, well, I don't really know.
Yeah.
The person themselves doesn't know. In Dead or Alive, that's like just not a thing. In Dead or Alive, there's baked into the system, there's an answer to everything.
Pretty much.
And it's universal to every character.
It's very, I don't want to say basic because it almost sounds like it diminishes it, but it's a very simple to understand, almost rock, paper, scissors style of fighting, based off of its strikes, holds, and grabs.
Strikes, holds, and throws, correct?
Throws, there you go.
Yep. And strikes beat throws beat holds, holds are the mostly defensive moves. They're not always defensive moves. So yeah, it's all about baiting things out. Like for instance, like Tina has this like triple low kick series there, and it's super telegraphed, right? Like it's super like, hey, I'm going low, 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 but I don't know if the computer will bite. But you can go low, low. It didn't bite that time, but you can go low, low, and then they're going to do a low counter hold, and you counter with a low throw and do huge damage. So it's like the game's all about making big reads and getting huge damage because of it. And I really, I think that DOA has always done that really well, and Dead or Alive 5 does it probably better than any of the other Dead or Alives have in the most balanced way. I
would agree, definitely. So you also talked about in the review the characters and
yes,
what do you got going on with there? How do you feel about the characters in this game? Even though it's the biggest roster in series history.
Yes, it is. And normally you'd be like, oh well, the largest roster you can have is like, hey, the more characters there are, the more different matchups there are. The deeper the game can be, theoretically speaking. But that said, since the original release of Dead or Alive, a lot of new characters have been added, either because Dead or Alive Ultimate had new characters, and then there was DLC characters for Ultimate. But to be honest, like a lot of them feel kind of lackluster. In a lot of cases, I feel like the motivation for adding them was more about just kind of fan service. Oh. And when I say fan service, I don't necessarily just mean like eye candy, like attractive women. I mean like, there's the other fan service also where it's just like,
hey, there's this really old dude that I remember from the game. Like, Leon is one that...
Yeah, exactly.
I used to be... Well, I still am a really big fan of Bayman. And to see Leon coming back, I was like, I never really played him, but that's kind of cool that he's there, I guess. But he also kind of feels very similar. He's kind of almost like another palette swap version of Bayman.
Exactly, and like that's the frustrating thing, is that there's a lot of characters in this version of Dead or Alive that feel kind of like they were just there to tick off a box. So like I'll give you an example. Like Phase 4. Mm-hmm. Phase 4 is not figuratively speaking, is literally a Kasumi clone. Mm-hmm. And she's one of the clones of Kasumi. That's like kind of story spoilers, but if you've been following Dead or Alive, you know about that stuff.
That was like Dead or Alive 2.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing, is that we've already got a Kasumi clone, right? We already have one. We have in Alpha. So it's like that's not even new territory. It's like reusing a model again for the third time. And unlike something like Street Fighter, where I feel like say Ken, Ryu, and Akuma all actually have like appreciably different attributes and like totally different play styles that you really have to consider. Phase 4 just feels. She feels like Kasumi with a couple of different moves.
She's like Kasumi with an attitude problem.
Yeah, like she's a little bit more, I don't know, like dark or edgy or something. She's
edgy is a good word. I like it.
She's just doesn't feel like a fully fleshed out character for me. And then you've also got other characters that are actually more literally in the usual definition of fan service, like Marie Rose.
Yes.
And that's like frustrating because, like, look, I've been one of those people for like a long time who's defended Dead or Alive as not being all about just eye candy and TNA, because sure, that's something they play up, and they've played up too much sometimes in the past, like with the She Kicks High ad campaign, and like right now, like what's going on the screen right now.
Yeah.
Sure, does it get a little bit much? Yeah, it has gotten a little bit much, but I've always been the person to say like, hey, like it's not always necessarily completely tasteless. It's also not the only thing the game does. And so, I criticize it, absolutely, understand that it's there, but I've never really been super frustrated by it. Just always felt like it held the game back a little bit. Dead or Alive 5, I felt like they seemed to care more, and I said this in my review, they seemed to care a lot more about creating a serious fighting game than they did about being tittillating, and I really appreciated that.
Yes.
There was no option in the original release of DOA 5. There was no option for the breast physics. That wasn't a thing. And like, they had DLC later down the road that had like kind of racier outfits, but that was just not the way the characters were generally presented when you played the game, and I really appreciated that. Now it's like you look at a character like Marie Rose. I mean, you look at her profile in the in the character select screen, she's basically just a barely legal, teen in like a maid outfit.
Yeah, it was something that I was really excited about. I'm going to interrupt you for a second.
Yeah, and right on cue.
There you go. Just shows up, just like that. But I was really excited because in Dead or Alive 5, the main cast, all the people in the game had reached the point where they're not too young. They're all of age, and now they just brought it back.
Yeah, and now we've got Marie Rose, who's like, even just her sound bites and even her musical themes are all very like, they're meant to be play on this moe this moe aesthetic and this moe like ideal, and it's kind of, I mean, like, if that's your thing, that's your thing. I just don't think it has any place in this game, and I think it's kind of, I hate sounding like a Puritan, but it's kind of gross to me. She mostly comes off like a small child, and she's being put in these like super skimpy like outfits that obviously
it's
are
the way
not,
she's presented.
Yes, she's presented as like. My personal feeling is that this is a character that exists to make a certain type of fanboy happy.
Yes. It's
not for fighting game fans. It's not for like I don't think it's for anyone that has a super positive view of women. Like it's not. I don't feel like it's for.
There you go.
And it bothers me. Whereas stuff like this is, cheeky and, maybe a little bit exploitative.
It is, definitely, but it's also a part of her character.
It's also kind of part of Tina's character, right?
It's who she is.
Like, and that's like, sure, I can totally get it. Maybe that's a little bit of a lame justification, and that's totally a fair position to have if you don't think that's a good enough, reason for stuff like that to be in the game. But I don't think it's gross. Tina is a grown woman who can do that if she wants to, like, whatever. But in the case of Marie Rose, it's clearly just like, hey, wanna put some underage girls or underage-looking girls into skimpy outfits? Yeah, let's have a couple of characters for
your
that.
opportunity.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I don't like that. And to me, it undermines what Dead or Alive is all about. Like, Dead or Alive is, in my opinion, is such a great fighting game. And to have it, to me, when I'm in the middle of a tense fight and I'm having a good session and all of a sudden I have to, like Marie Rose comes out wearing basically nothing, I'm just kind of like, makes me shake my head and go like, I want this game to be taken seriously, competitively, and as a fighting game, and I want to take it seriously. I think the developers deserve to have it taken seriously, and when they do stuff like that, I think it's, you lose all ground to stand on, and it really frustrates me.
Yeah, and two with the costumes, like we just fought against Leon in a Santa outfit.
Right, and then
There's
and
some
here's
weird disconnect.
and
with
here's
that.
Rig. Yeah, exactly. And here's Rig in a soccer outfit. And again, I get it. It's fun. It's kooky. It's zany. Like, you know, that's fine. I'm not saying that's such a terrible thing to be kooky and zany. Oh, for a second I thought it was going to go over. Yeah, no, I really wanted to go over the edge. Off I go.
But he got you. Soccer kicked you right off.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, you know, again, like, it just kind of doesn't play well to me with the. Is that aesthetically, it kind of there's a disconnect there when I'm fighting a dude in a soccer outfit, on this like picturesque mountaintop in the in like, I don't know, Iceland or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's stuff like that that just makes me feel like at this point there's so much DLC, so much costume DLC, and value-wise, it's great that it's all included. I think that's terrific. But you know, at the same time, it's at the cost of kind of the look and feel, I feel like, of Dead or Alive, and it's a little harder to take it seriously and really totally immerse yourself in like the I don't know, the mentality of a fighting game, you know. But that's just my opinion.
Speaking of things that might kind of ruin or hamper your experience, apparently there are a couple of bugs or glitches in a couple of the games.
Yeah, actually, there are. So I was lucky enough. So now you might have seen at the beginning with the menu options, I turned off the online throwdowns, which is basically the ability to have online opponents interrupt your offline play sessions. But if you keep that on some versions of the game, it will cause crashes. Like,
really?
Yeah, just like absolute crashes of the game. And then there's a lot of other bugs that have been important. And all this stuff, by the way, like, I haven't run into a lot of this stuff on my own, but it's absolutely worth saying that, like, these are big enough issues that Team Ninja is 100% acknowledging them on their Twitter. Like, Team Ninja's Twitter right now is
they're active about it.
Yeah, Team Ninja's Twitter is right now all about is flooded with them reporting all these issues. So these are not like one and done issues that almost no one's having. This is something that's happening to a lot of people, and in some cases these glitches are bad enough that people are actually losing their save data completely. Like,
that's no good.
Yeah, they've put out warnings that if you see certain screens or certain scenarios come up in the game, that you should absolutely just shut the game off and reset it and not finish and not proceed, because if you do, it'll erase your save file. And then the worst one, I think, is that if you're playing on Xbox One, this is really unfortunate. If you're playing on Xbox One, right now there's no support for the Mad Catz TE2.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if you bought the Mad Catz stick, which is a terrific stick, oh, cool.
Apparently we're not signed into PSN, but that's okay.
Cool. Don't care. So yeah, so I think that's really a huge problem. You're talking about people who spend a lot of money on a stick to play fighting games on the system, and there's no reason that it shouldn't be supported. It's going to be, and Team Ninja is working on it. But again, that's not a Mad Catz problem. That's definitely that is decided and endemic of the developer.
Definitely.
Always with those things, it's the developer who has to build in the support for those peripherals, and they didn't on the Xbox One version. So that's frustrating for them. So a lot of little things like that, and also just we're looking at another little thing here that bugs me. Is this is a full price game, and like, you know, there's this massive. I mean, like, Dead or Alive Last Round collects all the DLC that's been available to this point.
Yeah.
But now there's also new costume DLC you can get, which again, like, some people think that in and of itself is obnoxious. I don't. I'm like, whatever.
If you want to buy it, you can.
If you want to buy it, you can. If you don't, you don't.
There's like 8 different costumes for every character in this game at least.
Right.
Already.
It's actually in this version. One of the cool things about this version is if you do like having lots of costume variety, let's go into. Actually, you know what? We're gonna do a little spectator.
Okay.
So we can just let people fight, let characters fight, and see them go ham on each other. But yeah, if you'll see, I mean, one of the neat things is there are
a lot of costumes.
A lot, like 30 plus costumes for a lot of these characters.
And it's worth mentioning too, the ones that have the lock next to them that you can actually see the costume. Those are ones you can unlock in the game that you don't have to pay for.
Yes, exactly. So only these ones that have the downloadable icon on them are, require you to download. But everything else that has a lock on it is actually is just from this game, and they just included it all in there for you. So I think that's pretty cool. Something I want to get into Oh, I'm sorry. Getting back to the costume point, I just think it's silly that there's this huge advertisement. Like, to go back real quick.
Right there on the menu.
Yeah, there's just this massive advertisement for, hey, go get our DLC now and go to the PlayStation Store. I just, you're always walking a fine line with this stuff. Like, I just reviewed Evolve, and a lot of people were very vocal about not liking the fact that there was these day one cosmetic upgrades that you could get on your characters. But I defended that. I said I didn't have a problem with that because, look, it's just in the store, and the store is never advertised anywhere, and it's never shoved down your throat, and it's totally just cosmetic. A lot of the same things can be said here. Hey, look, it's the store, it's the last option on the menu, but you've got this just massive...
It's like a giant speech bubble that's like, hey,
check it out. Advertisement right there on the main title screen, and that does not go away. I cannot ever make that go away.
Like, you think if you press like triangle and you acknowledge it,
right? Maybe it would go away, but it doesn't.
But
it doesn't. It's like, it doesn't matter how much you play. Every time you come to this title screen, you will be entreated to go spend more money. And to me, that's offensive. Like, I think Dead or Alive 5 Last Round is genuinely a good deal. It's not a lot of money for a lot of content because it's not a full $60 game. I think it's either $29.99 or $39.99.
I think it's $39.99.
Yeah. So I think, given all the costumes in it, all the characters in it, I think it's and it's very feature rich. That's something that I don't want to shy away from, is that the game is extremely feature rich. There's a lot to it. One of the best training modes I think I've ever seen in a fighting game.
Definitely.
It gives you just tons of useful information. But that said, I still find it, icky that they're just like, we're gonna make this huge advertisement right in your face.
Truth be told, like, the best advertisement is just like when you're picking a character right now and you can see the costumes that you can get. Like, oh, I didn't know that I could dress Bayman up like a reindeer. That's silly. Sure, I'm down for that. Right. And like being able to see it, that's enough for me to sit there and think that I need to do it. I don't need a giant speech bubble telling me on the front.
Sure. Let me run down some of these characters. So there's Marie Rose. I told you. To me, it's just like, I mean, I don't see anything. There's nothing interesting about this character design to me except for the fact that, hey, look, I look like I might be underage, and I'm wearing a choker. Yeah. And I'm kind of in a pseudo maid outfit. I don't know. Like, I'm glad Jackie's here.
Yep.
I have to say, I am usually not a fan of guest characters. I usually hate guest characters. I've been very vocal about this around the office. I do not like guest characters, but I love it here. I really have loved it in Dead or Alive because Virtua Fighter is a game that we don't get to see enough of.
Yes.
It's another fighting game of the same exact type, and they have perfectly preserved the fighting styles and mechanics of these Virtua Fighter characters in Dead or Alive.
They transfer over so well.
It works so beautifully. It's so seamless. But in any case, so then you've got Ein. It's like, I played with Ein back in the day, and I get it. He's stylistically somewhere between Hayate and Hitomi, but he feels so similar to one or the other that it's just like, he feels kind of like a filler character. Like, I love that he's back. There's a fanboy in me that's like, yeah, that's great. Really cool, and I certainly have my friends who love Ein more and hate Hayate. So great, cool for them. I guess that's something. But to me, again, just feels like more filler. Honoka, here's another character. You're a Japanese schoolgirl. That's literally all you are. Like, not an interesting character design at all. Very, very tropey. And then her move list is completely boring. She's just got it's just a hodgepodge of moves from other characters.
She's like a Seth from Street Fighter 4 then.
Yeah, exactly. Except less interesting.
Yeah.
And they got Rachel. She's a total fan service character, obviously. Like, Rachel was from the Ninja Gaiden series. She fought with a big scythe in that. She obviously can't have that here. So here she's just basically like a generic brawler in a really
like a really strong. She's super tall. She's just
she's Amazon-esque in her proportions. She's very tall, very muscular. But I mean, like, she's basically just a generic punch and kicker. She doesn't have anything interesting to her style, and she's just wearing a ridiculous outfit for reasons, That said, like, I've spent a little bit too much time maybe talking about some of the negativity, the negative ends of things, but
it's something you really care about.
It is something I really care about because I gave the original Dead or Alive 5 a very high score. I gave it an 8.8, I believe.
Yeah. What'd you give this one?
This one is getting. Oh, we'll get to that in a second.
We'll get to that in a second. Okay, sorry, I jumped the gun a little bit. I'm really excited.
Yeah, no, I'm excited too. but I do want to talk about some of the positive things. So, like, since Dead or Alive 5 Original, there was Dead or Alive 5 Ultimate, and that's where a lot of these characters come from. And Momiji was one of the new characters in Dead or Alive 5 Ultimate, and I think she is awesome. Like, not only does she have an awesome look that links her kind of to the other ninjas in the game, but keeps her distinct in her own person. You know, her fighting style is kind of reminiscent of the, you know, kind of agility of the ninjas, but with her own kind of like flame-based twist and even more crazy acrobatics. And then you've got another character who you could want to write off as a fan servicey character for multiple reasons, both because of the way she looks, but also and the fact that her moveset is pulled right from Tengu.
I was gonna say it's basically Tengu.
Yeah, it's basically Tengu from Dead or Alive 2. But in both cases, like, I still think this character design is much more visually interesting and distinct than like, hey, we're going for the Moe crowd. You know, this is a much more interesting look to me. And also, like, her move list, that Tengu move list, has never really been repurposed or reused anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like that's something we've seen over and over and over again over the years, or it's not like any other member of the cast has that going for them. So, yeah, watching these two face off is actually a lot of fun, and it's actually fun to watch the computer do this in spectator mode.
Yeah.
Just to illustrate to you like how distinct their styles are from everyone else's, and how well they work within the framework of the game. It's almost like watching a wire fu battle. You'll see some of the like that stuff is so cool. Like, it's over the top and definitely a little bit out of the normal space that Dead or Alive plays in. But I love it, and that's what helps them to stand apart. And it's still balanced. It's not like some of the Tekken boss characters where it feels like a little bit silly, you know. And it's like, whoa,
you can't let him.
You've got
a character in
massive unblockable eye lasers, which, I mean, you can totally deal with those too. It's not like those are completely imbalanced, but so yeah, I love the style of these two characters. I think they're two examples of some of the characters you get in Dead or Alive 5 Last Round that are totally worth it, and they don't take away from the ambiance of Dead or Alive or from the fighting game feel. Oh, that's so
there
beautiful.
You go. It's basically Mizuna drop, but with her knee.
Yeah, it's so cool. So these are two examples of characters that I think work really well in the Dead or Alive universe, and that are original, unique, interesting to look at, interesting to play as, and don't feel like they were put there to make fans of old characters or of like underage girls happy.
There you go.
So yeah, and then feature-wise, I do want to take a second to just jump into the training mode.
Oh, do it,
because it has been expanded a little bit. And this is one of the things. This is one of the things that really made me fall in love with Dead or Alive 5 Vanilla. Is that when you go into the free training mode, you can really learn an unbelievable amount about your character. So, you know, Tina's really my main, but we'll go fight the old man.
Genfu.
Yeah.
Get him in there. He's got a really cool hat.
Yes.
I like that a lot.
Love that Sedge hat. But yeah, if we go into here, you can see that the training mode has an unbelievable number of features to it. So amongst them, probably the most interesting is in here, where you can turn on move details. And here you have 3 pages worth of information about the character. So here you've got you know, frame count of every move you're doing. You know, it's your range, so you can lock this. So it's like it shows your range in meters to the to your you know, to your opponent, and the reach of the last move you did, and whether or not it knocks back. There's just an unbelievable, and this is super detailed, like breaking down the move into all its different intervals in terms of frames. There's an unbelievable amount of information here, and all of it helps you to learn your character more intimately, and it exposes the depth of Dead or Alive, which is definitely there. So, you know, is it still a great fighting game? Sure. The fighting mechanics to me are still 100% excellent. But, you know, the glitches and just kind of this version's what feels like an oversaturation of kind of fan service that you can't really escape, because it just kind of randomly bumps into you either online if someone plays certain characters, or in the arcade mode. You can't really get away from. And it's just this, you know, the amount of, I think, some of these characters are just extra bloat, and it kind of dilutes the experience of the game rather than adds to it. So overall, I gave the game a 7.
All right.
Which is still good. Oh God, I left.
Oh,
this,
that,
I left
that stays
on.
up when you're.
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you can have it up during the game. I'm gonna turn that off.
I didn't even know that was actually there. So that's
Yeah.
the first time I've ever seen that. So I'm actually kind of really excited to go home and mess with it. But yeah, no, that's fantastic.
Yeah, but overall, yeah, I gave the game a 7. It's still, in my opinion, the fighting game experience is still excellent. It still has great mechanics. It's still fast and fluid and a blast to play. It's just, you know, the glitches, which are just so substantial that I can't just ignore them in terms of the score, and the you know, the added refocus on fan service, which I think it had gotten away from, and I was happy about, kind of coming back, takes the experience down for me more than I would have liked it to, and I'm sorry to have to say that, but
it's definitely something worth mentioning though.
Yeah.
It's there, it's very obvious, and it almost is yelling at you at points.
yeah,
At the time.
exactly. So yeah, that's overall my my verdict on Dead or Alive 5 last round. Thank you so much, Ben, for coming through to chat with me about it.
Oh no, thank you.
And thank you, folks at home, for watching this along with my written review, which should be right below this video right now. And for more on Dead or Alive 5 last round and fighting games and video games in general, keep it right here on IGN.